So what is trafficking? What is sex trafficking? What is human trafficking? And I'm not talking about the legal term. I'm talking about what it really means, because we have all these big words. We see the legal term. We know force, fraud, coercion. We know all these things, right? But what is it really? And sadly, it's become a popular word. I hate to say that, but you watch the news. Unfortunately, if you're on social media, you see it there. What is this thing, trafficking? What is it? Well, I want to show you what that looks like. If you're looking at me, you're looking at a survivor, an overcomer of sex trafficking. And I'm going to share a little bit about my experience so that I can break down what trafficking really looks like. What is this big, popular word? What is this ugly crime? What is this darkness that all of our presenters spoke about today? It looks like a young girl, Canadian, by the way, pretty, by the way, that came from Canada to Texas at about 14 years old. Big move. As a Canadian, when I left, I was still playing with Barbie dolls and tobogganing and stuff like that, just real kid stuff. And then when I moved to America, when I moved to Texas, when they say everything is bigger in Texas, I had to learn that that meant everything, including expectations. You know, got in high school, and all of a sudden I had to dress big, I had to date big, I had to do everything big, I had to get a name for myself, and that was a huge culture shock for me because I wasn't that kid. I was raised in church, I had a really boring life looking back at it. But I came to this big state and had to fit in really quickly. I'm proud to announce that I did survive high school, graduated, but it took a lot. I had to find where my passion lied, what was going to keep me afloat. And for me, I've always loved to serve. I've always loved people and connecting, and so I found every community service opportunity that I could just to keep me through high school. Finally, I get to college, and I'm still grinding. I'm still doing my thing. I'm still making friends. I'm still serving because I love to serve, especially in the church and faith communities. I loved to serve. I loved people. But what I'm not mentioning is that my mother, my support system, she was really a great big influence in my life, in that she was very protective of her children. And so though I was in high school and though I was serving, she had certain rules, like, okay, you go to school and you get good grades and you come home and you get a place to sleep and you get food, and then that's our life. That's what we do. So I didn't have that opportunity to like party much in high school or hang out or do overnights or anything like that, because my mother was very like, that's not what you do. That's not what we're here for. We're here to learn and we're here to be great. And so I carried that mentality, even my first year of college, I'm just here to be great. I just got to get good grades and work. But then a mutual friend introduced me to this awesome band. They were a guy band. They were super popular in Houston, and they invited me and my friends to hang out with them. And so this started opened up a new world for me. Because again, my mother wasn't having the partying. My mother wasn't having the hanging out and staying after school and all that kind of stuff. That's not what she was about. And so these guys, we started hanging out with them, and it almost months, 6 months, and we had the best of times, just hanging out. Of course, when I say hanging out as a young adult, if anyone's ever been a young adult, you know what that means, right? Clubbing and going to places that I've never been introduced to before. And then the main person, the leader of that band, he started saying, hey, Kathy, why don't you start hanging out with me? Just me and you, I want to get to know you. Oh my goodness, you're talking about an insecure little church girl, doesn't go out much, introduced to this new life, and now the leader is interested in me. That blew my mind, and of course, I accepted his invitation to start hanging out with him. And quickly, that spiraled into this facade of a relationship. And it was about a year or a little after a year that he was like, you're too smart to be still living with your mom, and I just want to help you because you're so beautiful, and we have really big dreams, and we're going to do things together. We're going to create a life together. And I have this opportunity, by the way, and it's an opportunity for you to shine. You get to help me build my record label. This is what he was telling me. And because he was so, in that life already and into music, I had no hesitation that this was a real offer. And he invited me to leave Houston and go to Dallas to further that career or this venture, this new business venture with him. And I did. I went. And when I got to Dallas, that's when my life changed forever. So fast forward. I get out of that situation. Horrible things happen. I'm not even going to go into that. You can, we have imaginations. You can imagine the things that I had to endure for almost a year. Fast forward, I exit the life. And my exit wasn't normal. There's no normal exit, but I didn't think it was normal because the way that it happened, it wasn't supposed to happen that way. Another girl that he had trafficked got sick. I convinced him to come back to Houston, get her some help. It worked out, and I'm out of the life. And that means that I was away from him for a short period of time, but he still pursued me, still came after me, still invited me to more business opportunities, even though I had been so violently abused and used for almost a year. He still invited me. The nerve, right? But do you know what? I actually thought about it. I thought about going back with him, and that's what most people don't understand, is the trauma that victims and survivors have to endure when they're trafficked, and that bond that they build with their traffickers. It is a very, very hard bond to break. Something happens to your brain when you're out there. Something happens to your soul. Something happens to your heart. And it's a very, very hard, difficult bond to break. In my mind, I had been through all this filth, and because my dignity was stripped, how could I walk back into a normal life? How could I be that church girl, that good college girl again? How could I go back to that after I've been through this horrific, horrific darkness? It didn't make sense to me. It wasn't connecting. And I think I heard Bobby explaining that process. It is a very difficult process. You don't just get out of the life and go back to normal. I like to say that restoration is a lifelong process because, number one, for a victim or a survivor, restored to what? I don't remember who I am. What am I being restored to? What does that look like? And so for me, it was a process. My healing journey actually looked like me imitating people like you. This individual, she goes to church and she serves. I'm going to try that because I want to feel normal again. I want to be like these people. They look healthy. And by the way, I'm not sharing what happened to me because the shame and the guilt, I can't let these people know what happened to me, but I want to be like them. They look like they're living healthy lifestyles. Oh, look at that person. She has a job. Oh, look at that person. She's in school. He's in school. I want to be those people again because I had forgotten who I was. My identity had been stripped. And that's how it is for many, many survivors of trafficking. They're returning to something that is completely foreign to them. And so that's if you can understand that and if you can understand that cycle, you can then say, okay, well, how can I help this person? Think about what it took you if you're 30, 40, 50, 60. I won't tell you what age bracket I'm in, but think about how long it took you to learn what you know today. How long did it take you to go through school? What did it take you to become a good parent? What did it take you to become a decent human? All of that is what survivors of trafficking need to learn again. Because either they didn't have it to begin with or it's been stripped away from them. We don't know. And much like my healing journey, many, many survivors of trafficking have to just imitate what that looks like because they have no clue how to separate what they had just been through and what they've survived. It takes a survivor a lot to even tell you that they've been trafficked. I know for myself, I didn't know what trafficking was. I didn't know what exploitation was. What is that? I just had a really bad boyfriend, and he did really bad things, and thank God that I survived. Even a couple of years after I was removed from that experience, I still didn't know what trafficking was. I thought that it was something that was, happening at the border. Definitely not my life. But as I began to do some research, and again, I just got back into volunteering because I always loved people. So I started volunteering with social justice organizations, and then this thing, trafficking, just comes in my face like, oh yeah, by the way, we're helping victims of trafficking. Okay, cool. I love to empower girls and young people and women, so I'll do that, whatever it takes. Meanwhile, I'm still living with this ugliness, this secret that I'm still trying to heal from. And so as I'm serving these women and listening to their stories and sharing my experiences, that's when it clicked for me. Oh my God, I've been trafficked. Oh my God, I've survived trafficking. And surviving is just the beginning. I was removed from my experience, but I hadn't survived the brokenness. I still had all this ugliness to deal with inside. And so when you ask yourselves, how can I help? This is too big, this problem, it's dark, it's ugly, I don't have the resources. I'm not gonna go, to the street and start snatching up people that I think are being trafficked. How do I help? And that's what I wanna share with you today. Again, like I said, I imitated what people were doing. And even, survivors coming out of the life, they may have the ugliest attitudes. I know I did. Didn't want to hear anything about anything. But they're watching. And they're watching specifically for people that see them as humans. There's no longer, I want to shift the culture and get rid of this idea that it's normal citizens versus survivors of human trafficking. It needs to be citizens, survivors of human trafficking. What does that look like? It means partnering with survivors, listening to their stories, seeing them as human beings, seeing them as people that we can partner with to learn more about how to end human trafficking. We can't end human trafficking without survivors of trafficking to tell us those important things. There are a lot of things that survivors know that can never be expressed because they will never get platforms like this. So we need to go to them. We need to go to them and learn from them and listen to them. And that's what 1211 is about. Started this organization called 1211 Partners, and it's literally just to partner with survivors of human trafficking to help them along their restorative journey, their healing journey, this lifelong process to become whole again. By mentorship. If you love people and you have a heart for people, if there's something that you're really gifted in, if you have natural skills like cooking or raising money or finances, anything like that, you can bring those things to the table. Again, survivors are just trying to learn what the heck normal is. What does that even look like? We do that through Career Path. If you have businesses, we need survivors to go past beyond this mentality of just, oh, I just need to get a job, paycheck to paycheck, livable wage is my goal. We need to get past that mentality and help them really develop their skills and learn new skills to go beyond a livable wage and to thrive in freedom. A lot of survivors are stuck in just surviving. They've made it past their experience, but what's next? And that's where you come in, is to help survivors and overcomers of trafficking thrive in freedom. Everything that it took for you and that it takes for you to thrive in your communities, that's what survivors need now. That's what they need. I can tell you that my journey is far, far from over. I'm still in this process of restoration. I'm still every day finding healing. As I work with survivors now, and I mentor survivors and overcomers now, it brings me back to that place, and it brings me back to the faces that I left behind, where I was. And there are a lot of survivors who want to share their stories and want to help partner with allies to end this crime, but they're not given an opportunity. And because there are many, many barriers. So we want to help them, and that's what 1211 Partners is for, is to partner with them to help them move from surviving to thriving so that they can then empower other survivors to do the same thing. Once we take back our communities, this crime is plaguing all of our communities. No matter where you live, I guarantee you, you know someone that knows someone that knows someone that has been affected by human trafficking. And so look at it that way. How can I use my natural skills to help individuals who have come out of that life? It's really hard, and it's really just a partnership. It's really just a partnership. Many survivors don't even believe that people care. I know I didn't. I was too shameful, and I was too guilty, and I felt so dirty and filthy that even when I was imitating, even when I was trying to be like what achieved my normal, I felt looked down upon. I felt unintelligent. I felt, like I was just the bottom of the bottom, But it's time to shift that culture, and it's time to partner with survivors of human trafficking to end this problem. That's the only way that we can end this problem, because once they feel like they have a seat at the table, they will tell you everything you need to know. They just need a seat at the table. They just need to be able to sit with you and talk with you about what they've experienced and how to end it. And it's really hard to get to that place. It's really, really hard to get to that place to really trust individuals again. But I believe that we can do it if we do it together. Something very, very, very important is not to treat survivors as though they are lesser than or as just subject matters. They're way more than subject matters. We are way more than just subjects. We're people. We're citizens. We're your community members. We're your neighbors. And we need to bring them up to a place where they feel accepted and where they belong. Because all of that has been stripped away from them. Trying to figure out what dignity really means. What does that even look like? And I asked survivor partners, as I partner with them, I asked them, hey, are you ready to thrive? Because yeah, you're surviving. Yeah, you've got this job, but you're still going back to these old behaviors. Are you really ready to thrive? And I'm gonna ask you the same question. In your communities, are you ready to thrive? Are you ready to partner with survivors of human trafficking to end human trafficking in your communities? Thank you.